Greg Cote, great columnist for the Miami Herald's been all over this story. Before this week, Richie Incognito's reputation in that locker room as a player was what, Greg?
Popular, respected. He was having a good, solid season, probably their second-best offensive lineman. Very popular guy. I mean, he had been named by his teammates onto the six-player leadership council, which in retrospect seems a little weird. But, yeah, I mean, prior to this, he was one of the most popular guys in the locker room, and the media loved him. He was voted the Media Good Guy Award last season for cooperating with the media. So, he was in good stead.
How surprised were you with this story?
I wasn't totally shocked. Incognito is a very boisterous, profane, fun-loving type guy. I can see him being a guy who is behind all the pranks and the kidding that goes over the top, and I can see Jonathan Martin being picked on, quite frankly. You know, he's the Stanford guy who sort of had a reputation for being a little bit soft physically, and he was not having a good season on the field. And so these were extreme personalities at the center of this.
Who knew what and when, starting with head coach Joe Philbin?
Well, that's a good question, and I think that's going to come out in the NFL investigation. As I wrote, there are two options in this for Joe Philbin, and neither one of them make him look very good. One is that he sort of knew something was going on and did nothing about it, and the other is that he was just totally oblivious to it. He admitted yesterday that the workplace environment is his responsibility, and I think that could come back to haunt him. I think if the Dolphins fail to make the playoffs this year, that fact coupled with this controversy could get him fired.
The culture of the locker room. I don't know if you heard from players on or off the record who defended maybe not some of the things that Richie Incognito said about and to Jonathan Martin, but the culture of the locker room where you don't rat. That I heard from an NFL executive yesterday who said you do not rat. You do not do what Jonathan Martin did. No matter how bad it is, you don't do what he did. Are you finding players who are siding with Incognito's style here?
Oh, very much so. I was in the locker room yesterday and spoke to several players, and that's entirely true. The perception here is that, Richie Incognito was being defended yesterday, and I didn't hear a lot of support for Jonathan Martin. And I think what you have here is a locker room culture where Jonathan Martin is the one who broke the code by going public here, and Richie Incognito was doing nothing wrong. He was just doing what football teams and football players do, and that's the mindset.
Talking to Greg Cote, the Miami Herald, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Dolphins cut Incognito, going to cut him, or just have him suspended right now?
Well, he's indefinitely suspended right now, but he's played his last for Miami. Eventually they'll I don't know that he has any trade value, but if they can't trade him, they'll waive him eventually. He'll never play for the club again, and there's a great question whether Jonathan Martin will ever return to the team as well.
I also saw this, too. It felt like there's a little bit of a smear campaign with Jonathan Martin, who I don't know, but it feels like now there's innuendo of there's other things. There's mental illness here, drug use here. Tell me what the real story here is with Jonathan Martin on leave.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of rumors. I mean, you hear every shade of rumor possible, from emotional stress, emotional weakness, to sexual orientation, to drug use. I mean, as far as I know, none of that is the case. I do know that he was under emotional duress when he left, and there's no crime in that. I mean, if he felt like he was being bullied and harassed and was in a hostile work environment, that led him to quit. I don't know that there's anything more to that. By my view, he's the victim here, and I don't think we should start demonizing Jonathan Martin, although that's happening in the locker room where they think he's the snitch.
But also, the NFL Players Association, they got to defend both guys, don't they?
At some point they'll pick sides. You know what I mean? Initially they just want what's fair treatment for both guys, but those text messages and voicemails left by Richie Incognito were pretty incriminating.
Greg, thanks for joining us. Know you got a busy day. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Greg Cote, Miami Herald.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.